There we go. Should be recording now.
Okay, so and I'll send this to you via Slack, so that way Stefania has it too. But so what I've created is I've added this new project, and it's actually a group called Initech, and it's going to house a whole bunch of different projects in it. And the one that you used to use called Notes is here as well. And I've added a couple of enhancements to it. Now there's some fixes I need to work on, but I've added lots of enhancements that you can see where this is the IP you go to. So it'll be the same thing, adding notes, deleting notes, but I've added this admin button. So now you can log in, and it's kind of to showcase the DAST, finding insecure authentication. So if I do admin and then I give the password, which is like an easy 4-letter password, and it's hard coded in the database, in the Python file, you'll see here that there'll be an admin mode and you can reset the database table and it'll clear everything out and it'll say database table notes has been reset. So I need to work on, I was messing around with it the other day, so right now it's not adding the notes, but I can fix that in like an hour or so after this meeting. But there's that, and then I've added one called Reporter that shows using the GraphQL API. So if you give like a name of a vulnerability, you give a description and you press submit, it'll create it. Now it didn't work now because my personal access token expired, and I'll give a new one, but this is kind of going to be to show how to use the API to create vulnerabilities.
Okay, cool.
And if you want to see, there's a merge request here that says add new features. And this merge request will have the merge request approval set up, and it'll have all the security scans that are run. So you can see how to create a vulnerability. So you'll see it'll have like the SAST scan, it'll have DAST, coverage fuzzing, it'll be running API fuzzing, dependency scanning, and container scanning. And then it has the license scanning as well. So it'll have pretty much everything on there that you need to get started with anything security. So, and then you can just, if you want to just, keep changing this and do it in your own space, you have the MR diff here, so you can see what you need to add to get in an error.
Okay.
Then if you look at the security vulnerability report, and you look at all tools, you'll see there's generic. Let's see all statuses. And this is for things created with the GraphQL API. Now I've removed them all, but whenever you create something with that GraphQL API, it'll appear here. And API fuzzing you can see here too. So I've been using these for analyst calls. So this project will be kind of it'll be all over the place with different comments and different things, and the vulnerabilities being confirmed. But the whole idea would be for anyone to be able to set this up within their own environment. So what they would have to do is they would have to clone this group, and they'll get everything that's offered. And the way that the infrastructure is deployed on Kubernetes is you'll see here that there's a agent. There's a Kubernetes agent, and there's nothing in here. There's just a blank config.yaml. But the reason why is because I deploy the Kubernetes agent on the cluster. And then here I just need to have a file that says config, but everything is installed using the GitLab managed apps of this apply job. So you'll be able to see that apply job and what it does. And what it does is it calls this Helm file, which then loads all these different applications. So you'll have Cilium, Falco, Prometheus, and AppArmor. I guess the main one for being able to show the application here is the ingress. So you'll have the ingress controller here, and then you'll have yeah, you'll just have this helm file which loads the ingress chart.
Okay. Cool.
But if you don't need if you don't need all of that, you can just, and you want just the standard notes application, you can use this one, and you don't need the Kubernetes agent on it. Well, let me see how I'm deploying it. I might have changed it. So if you look here, yeah, so you do need the Kubernetes agent to deploy stuff, because this is where I'm actually setting the agent config.
Okay. Understood.
So yeah, and then there's also other stuff too that, and that's why this is going to take a long time to write a guide on, because I have to say what all these things do. But there's also this partners app that shows compliance frameworks, and you'll see that this one has a label, this one has a label, and the pipeline or YAML files that they run are in here.
Okay.
So that way you can show a separation of duties, that, you know, this can have access, different people have access to this, they edit this, and that's what runs the pipeline on the files.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything's been moved here to tech marketing and and then there'll be a workshop that uses this. There'll be documentation. There'll be all this stuff, and that's kind of what I'm working on within the next few weeks, is kind of getting this more formalized, as well as making different overview videos for all the features. So yeah, so any questions so far on your end?
So when we wanted to give demos, at least that's what I saw for the Simply Notes, Simple Notes app. Is there a way that we can import these to the demo environment, like that we can actually use this and then play around with it while we demo, or we could create a demo for the customer?
So you should be able to. So what I have is, and I don't even know how to access it. I can't remember how to access it, but for my Kubernetes cluster, I have the Kubernetes cluster that I created for the demo environment. And then all I did was just load the agent. And to do that, I went to GitLab. Okay, so I wrote this blog on deploying the agent. And all I do is just deploy the agent with, so I won't use this config, I'll use the one that it actually gives. So because I want permissions to everything, this is kind of how to deploy it with limited permissions. So let me just actually. So you'll have your own separate Kubernetes cluster, right? I think that's a new way that we're doing the demo stuff, is like everyone has their own space with their own cluster.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think there is a shared cluster, but that's something that I would have to check. Everybody gets their own namespace, though.
So what I saw is that, like, now what they've done is, like, before we used to create clusters on these different groups, right? Like, but now what they've done is they created our own group for us to have our own resources in.
Yeah. Okay.
So from here, go to Kubernetes Engine, my clusters. And this is the cluster that I'm deploying everything on. And I think it's like a lot more stable these days doing it this way, because I've seen just a great amount of stability, the Kubernetes agent and everything. So I think this is kind of like the way to go about it. But I'll look for the guide for you, because I followed the guide, some guide from Demo Systems on setting up this environment in particular. So what you would do is, create the cluster, connect to the cluster, and then deploy the Kubernetes agent. And I think there's like a YAML here somewhere. Yeah, you can use this YAML, which another on my to-do list is to make a Helm chart out of this, because this is kind of like a harder way of deploying it. So I've been asked before, are there Helm charts for this, or is there an easier way to do it? So I think that's something I need to bring up as well. But
Okay.
yeah, you would deploy this, and then all you would do is just clone this. Oh, sorry, clone this, the notes application. So you import that project, and then what you would do is you would go to, so the first thing you do is create the cluster. The second thing you do is import this project. Then after importing this project, you go to infrastructure, Kubernetes cluster. You add the cluster, so you'll do, there won't be anything here for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, there won't be anything here for you. Just let me. And then you'll just install a new agent. You'll be able to drop down the Initech Notes one, and then it'll give you like a token, and then yeah, you go through that process of doing that. And then once that's done, then you go. Then I guess it's fine. It's running. The application is running, and it just won't have an ingress because we haven't deployed ingress. So then what you'll need to do is just install ingress and do it any way that you want to, or you can just use this infrastructure project.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, and you'll just put another agent on there. You'll just install another agent, and then you'll just load this, and it'll load all the applications.
Yeah. Okay.
And let me show you my terminal. Okay, you can see the terminal there.
Yeah, all good.
Okay. So kubectl get. So you'll see that all the agents are installed in this Kubernetes agent namespace, and then everything else will be in the default branch. So if I do you'll see that the Notes app is running automatically, and the Notes app deploys now MariaDB database and the Notes application. So everything's so now there'll be multiple Notes application that hit one database. So making it more scalable, so we can show more real things, and we can add canary testing and all these things. So I've added enhancements like that, and then you have the service that it deploys for the notes, and then you have the ingress that it deploys for the notes.
Yeah.
So and this, no, it doesn't add anything extra. Okay. So yeah, you'll have that, the notes ingress, and then yeah, all that's deployed, and then you can go from there, and the and if I look at the services, because I deployed ingress that way, it automatically picks up the load balancer IP, and that's my address here that I'm using to access the application via ingress. So yeah, the two things you need are the infrastructure app and the Notes app, or you just need to install ingress however you want, and I'll add that guide, because I know that that's kind of one of the suggestions that has been brought up is GitLab managed apps requires a lot of maintenance. on our part. And they want to, right now they're fully supporting it and it's fully supported, but eventually the idea is to move away from that and have anybody kind of go towards going to the official Helm chart or the official deployment method and deploying that in their infrastructure.
Okay.
So that'll be the new way of doing it.
All right.
So right now, that's what I have, and I guess you can start working with it, and then if you have any questions along the way, you can feel free to ask me, and I'll be writing the guide and doing all that. And I'm expecting to complete that by February 16 or something like that, before a skills exchange, so that way I have that information there. But yeah, it'll be probably 2 weeks out. So yeah, that's what I got.
No, that looks really good. I mean, for me, it looks like a good setup that I can build a demo for my customer. Yeah, I have to look a little bit about how we do it in the demo cloud, like what we have for Kubernetes there. And also just set up my own Kubernetes cluster. That's not a problem. Is there a reason why we use Nginx and not the cloud native load balancer on Google?
I think that's just like the main one. That's just the standard one that everyone uses is Ingress Nginx, and it's fully supported by the Cube community. So I mean, the load balancer that we are using is the Google load balancer. It's just that the Ingress Nginx pod is attaching to that load balancer, and it's using that load balancer.
Yeah, okay. Because you can do it natively as well. Like you don't technically need the Nginx one at Google. You can register directly, and it can do that. But actually, I think it's not a bad thing to use Nginx, because that's exactly what most of our customers are using anyway. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So yeah. Good. So yeah, no, happy to show you this. Happy to go over it, and then yeah, any other time that if you have any questions walking through it, just let me know, and I'll try to dig up that information on the demo cloud stuff that I followed for setting up my own environment.
Yeah, that would be great. For sure. Cool.
And I'll send you all these links as well. And also, can you share this video with me? I want to share with some other people. Just because a lot of people have been asking the same thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, no problem at all. Cool. Stefania, you have any questions?
No questions. For me, it's really useful because what I'm looking for is a vulnerable app that I can add an MR and add some vulnerabilities and demo that. In terms of when you started talking about Kubernetes, I'm not a Kubernetes expert, so it was every other bit I got a bit lost, but I kind of understand what you were talking about just about. But it's really helpful because also I'm a Python developer, and at the moment everything I've been playing with is JavaScript, and I don't like JavaScript. So it's really good that yours is in Python, because then I'll have a better understanding. And if I want to introduce a vulnerability, like say a really old version of Django, just add it in there for no reason, but then to get the flags, that's kind of what I've been looking for. Like even when I was talking with Lars yesterday, I was like, oh my God, it's in Python, I'm so happy. So yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much for going through, because yeah, especially since it's recorded, when I do need to set it up, I can rewatch, in slow-mo and pause to understand what's going on. So thank you so much for talking us through it.
Yeah, no worries at all. And yeah, thanks for setting this up, and I'll be happy to continue working with y'all.
Yeah, sounds good. Perfect. Then thanks again, Fernando, for your time, and we'll
Thank you so much.
speak
have
soon.
a great weekend, everyone. Speak soon.
Yeah, have a good weekend. I'll see y'all. Bye.
Bye.